women's sports are having a moment.
Here it is, the final moments for Caitlin Clark in Iowa.
This was the most successful women's tournament by the numbers.
This year's March Madness set records for both attendance and viewership. ESPN reported 9.9 million viewers for the championship game between LSU and Iowa, and stated it was the most viewed college event ever on ESPN+.
From LSU.
And not only are fans showing up, money is too.
40 with Mumbai.
In India, the newly formed Women's Professional Cricket League saw 5 new franchises sold for a staggering $572 million, exceeding what owners paid for the inaugural men's IPL teams back in 2008. But maybe nowhere is the investment in the women's game so interesting and diverse as with Athletes Unlimited.
Athletes Unlimited started with softball just as the pandemic hit. Since then, this sports media business has expanded to lacrosse, volleyball, and the most mainstream of sports, basketball.
And Alicia Gray.
This multi-sport league has no traditional team structure and is putting players in the spotlight.
This league is truly the definition of investing in women.
The league raised $30 million in new funding in 2022 and assembled a star-studded advisory board that includes Kevin Durant and Abby Wambach. And the venture is backed by a couple of guys with Wall Street famous names, Soros and Patrikov.
What if we start with a blank sheet of paper? We don't invest in the existing leagues, but we really rethink what a sports league of the future might look like.
It's a players' league. The players make decisions. The players kind of control everything.
We know what we want and what we need, and we understand what our audiences want and need. And that is AU's total approach to not only basketball, but volleyball, softball, and lacrosse. And every sport has been successful. Why? Because it is player-run.
Being player-run is only the start. Like any good disruptor, Athletes Unlimited is promising change. Change to how games are played, how fans watch, how players benefit, how their stories get told.
And of course, how money gets made. This is Next in Sports.
BP, if you're interested in women's basketball, and a lot of people are, look no further than here. New York Liberty tipping off the season, but they're not even in New York. They're down in DC, but everybody's going to be here.
Hundreds of people gathered here, a watch party in a huge New York City Manhattan bar. That is something that's, I feel, really amazing for this time in women's basketball. It just shows how many people are genuinely excited. If you put it on the TV, people come to watch. What is the moment right now for women's basketball?
This is the moment. We're in the middle of Midtown right now, and this place is packed.
Why do you like this game? It's just fun, it's fast. I feel like the whole league's kind of like the underdogs.
We had the most watched season in 14 years last year, records in the finals. It's only going to get bigger, and I think people are finally realizing that what we have all known, women's basketball is dope.
I am Ellie the Elephant's biggest fan. She's always dancing. It's so much fun.
And there's a resurgence, I would say, not only coming from women's basketball in college, I would say in track and field. Right now, I believe that companies, entities, they're investing in women and their development, and not only their development, their growth in the sport. And I think that's important. We need to invest in women's sports.
The WNBA is entering its 27th season and faces an interesting dilemma. While viewership is up and interest in the college game continues to grow, the league only has so many roster spots. This year alone, only 15 players from the 2023 draft made opening day rosters.
In some ways, women's basketball demand has outstripped the supply. Enter Athletes Unlimited.
Welcome to Fair Park Coliseum. We're getting set for Team Williams and Team Sims in the first of our doubleheader.
There's a lot exciting about Athletes Unlimited, but just the triple overtime, quadruple overtime.
Right.
At first glance, this feels exactly like a basketball game. Women much taller than me running the court for layups, setting picks, and nailing threes. But there's something entirely new happening on top of the traditional ball and hoop game. And it starts with scoring.
Naz. Missed shot, -10. Odyssey. Made 2, 20 points. She's killing it. Interesting thing is, because Team Sims is down, they've lost the first 3 quarters. Those are 50 points each, so none of them are going to be in the top leaderboard.
If you're feeling confused, you're not alone.
It seems confusing, right? If you're reading it on paper and you're reading the rules, you're like, I have no idea what this is talking about. But when you actually start playing it, it's just basketball.
Let's see if we can break this down.
Players gain points first based on the performance of their team throughout the game.
50 points for every quarter the team wins. 150 points for winning the game.
Players also gain and lose points based on their individual performance.
Make a 3-point shot, your team, just like regular basketball, gets 3 points, but you personally gain 30 points. Miss that 3, you personally lose 10 points.
The same metrics apply to pretty much everything one does on a court.
Steal the ball, +10. Turn it over, -10.
It just puts more of an emphasis on being efficient in your game. It makes you better. You don't get to shoot 20 shots and only make 4 shots because you're gonna fall down in the leaderboard. You don't get to just go out there and play selfish basketball because if you do that, it's gonna affect your total team points, which count more on the leaderboard. We're still playing basketball, makes it more exciting. Every moment matters in the game. Every possession matters, every shot matters. And when you can break the game like that, that makes every player better.
And as a viewer, you can follow along live every game, seeing which players are topping the leaderboard. And just like how fantasy sports have created a sort of metagame within the game itself, AU hopes it can do the same. Their slogan, every moment counts. From the leaderboard, we find the leaders, the top 4 of whom set up each week as team captains. Captains play a sort of coach, general manager role. Each week, the current team captains will draft their own team of players, as well as their own team facilitator to help run and organize the practices.
I think it makes you a better basketball player because week to week, if you're not the captain, you're dealing with a different captain, a different facilitator, different plays are being put in that you have to digest in like 2 days and be ready to run. It's gonna challenge people's IQ, like you're gonna have to be a smart player in this situation.
No team also means no local markets. Instead of needing to transport players and staff to cities all over the country, AU brings everyone to one location for a 5-week period. Here, Athletes Unlimited hopes to pull some revenue from tickets to see the games live, but is primarily focused on creating the event as a video product, one that can be sold to sponsors and consumed by fans all over the world via traditional and digital platforms. AU Basketball, for example, struck a deal with WNBA League Pass to be on their platform, helping expose more fans of the WNBA to AU and giving League Pass content in the offseason. It's a similar system to all the sports in AU and helps create innovation. One sport discovers a new way to tweak gameplay, consumption, or sponsorship, and that innovation can be applied across the board.
Getting rid of traditional team structure also has a big impact on ownership and decision making. Compare it to the WNBA or NBA, or just about any other major sports league, which is a coalition of different owners with varying opinions. Ownership in AU is at the league level. Not only does that mean they can make decisions about the league much faster, but its players have a much larger say in how the business is run.
Welcome. Yeah, for sure. Let's start, Sherry, with the draft. Like, any thoughts that you had or questions that you guys have for the PEC in terms of how the draft and everything went?
While captains change week to week, the athletes on the PEC, or Player Executive Committee, are consistent through each season. Each week, they meet with AU's top managers and owners to make decisions about how the league is run.
Bench behavior. I think there's a lot of players that think because the league is player ran that it's like all of the players. So like we had players like making their own substitutions. We had players trumping the captain's decisions.
Mommy saw that.
Yeah. I do feel like it's not understood that it's captains, facilitators. That's all it is. Like it's not a whole team making decisions.
It's really not a democracy.
Yeah. But I don't think that was like, I mean, we say player ran, player led, da-da-da. So I think we have to like actually say, no, y'all are the players, the captain and the facilitators are the ones making the decisions.
Nowhere else is a league run by their players and run by a player executive committee. We make all the decision when it comes down to it. So how the court looks, how the arena looks, the extra court, what our uniforms look like.
In the rule book, it says no jewelry. Do you still want to keep that rule as no jewelry during games?
Can we change nose rings to be like, if there are, like this one's big, but I have a clear one that we can put in. So can nose rings be the exception?
A lot of leagues have player, run committees, and they're like the ambassadors for the leagues. How do you feel like this players and executive committee is different from the way other leagues have it?
Well, this player executive committee truly makes all the decisions. There's a lot of conversation. Their opinions and their thoughts are very much a part of the decision-making process. They understand the challenges that come along with running a league, and then they're vested in those decisions and how they're communicated to the rest of the player pool.
The United States.
So I think it's brilliant.
So they're like GMs almost.
Correct. Probably the one who really loves it and really wants to be a general manager down the road is Lexi Brown. She's got it in her, she grew up around the game with her dad being a professional basketball player.
This is Lexi Brown, a point guard returning for Athletes Unlimited's second season and a WNBA veteran. Her father was a player who coached in the NBA and WNBA.
Sounds like others. And then you're like a
So talking about like the GM thing, so like what about it like what attracted you to the most? Was it being able to run the team or the business behind it?
I just like being in charge of stuff. I have seen how important it is for as personnel when it comes to building a team. It's really important to have the right personalities, the right, type of people.
So do you feel like being a part of the PEC is kind of helping you create that with the AU,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's taught me how to work with different personalities. And it's put me in rooms with people that I don't think I would have been in, otherwise. And just having that PEC title, it holds a lot of weight, here. And then just moving forward, just being able to, if I'm applying for a position, being I basically helped run a league for 2 years.
For the second season of AU basketball, the league has attracted a few other current WNBA players, but they've also attracted a legend in the game. Cheryl Swoops.
All right, so can you tell me how you first got introduced to Athletes Unlimited?
It's sports. I mean, how do I not know about it?
Now that is a confident answer.
And Cheryl Swoops is confident in basketball. Here she is, scoring 47 points in the 1993 NCAA championship game.
Cheryl Swoops writing and rewriting history. Does it feel like what you thought it would feel like?
Oh man, it's even better. This is just really something special.
She's a Hall of Famer, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, and in 1996, the first person signed to the WNBA. She knows sports. In February, she joined the Athletes Unlimited Advisory Board.
I think lots of times when there's a new league and people aren't very familiar with it, it's like, what are we doing? And is it gonna be fun? Is it gonna be exciting? And for me, as a fan of the game, that was the biggest takeaway. Every single player that was out there, it was competitive, it was exciting, but the best part of all of it was every single player says that was the most fun they had playing basketball in a very long time.
It's a little bouncy.
And no one on the court has more fun than Natasha Cloud.
What's different about AU is we talk, we trash talk. We're not, put into this box of, oh, women have to be dainty and they have to act a certain way on the court. No, we're hooping.
This first 4 minutes, I promise you, if you punch them in the face, they're gonna die out.
If I say half the stuff that I say here in the W, I'm getting technicals. I might be kicked out the game for telling Courtney Williams, nah, that ain't going in. Nah, bleep that, you know what I mean? But I think AAU shows every other professional league in the entire world that if you listen to your players, you can have a successful business plan and sports league. Wait a minute, maybe the players are actually where the value is.
And for the two co-founders of Athletes Unlimited, they're looking to take that value to Wall Street. This is John and Jonathan. John is John Patrikoff, former president of NYCFC and former COO and president of Tribeca Enterprises, the organization that operates the Tribeca Film Festival. His father, Alan Patrikoff, is a legendary venture investor, backing more than 100 companies from Apple to Office Depot.
And Jonathan is investor Jonathan Soros, son of multi-billionaire hedge fund manager and philanthropist George Soros.
We understand the sports are great, athletes are great, but what's the business case?
The core business case is that women's sports are on the rise. You have undervalued athletes and underserved fans. Fans who are there, they've been there for a long time. They're huge audiences that watch each of our sports at the collegiate level and internationally, and they just haven't had the products that delivers at a professional level.
I think what we need to do first and foremost is cover the games incredibly well. I think one of the things that hasn't been done historically in women's sports, you're just worrying about putting the game on or getting the athletes to the right place at the right time. You don't even invest in all the other things that a sports league needs to do. And it really allowed us, because we were in one location, because it was 5 weeks, to make that investment. And when I think people saw it for the first time, they were like, this is a high quality league. This looks like what I would see from the NBA or the NFL or someone else.
Well, here we are.
And that interest in the athlete also came from a strategic business decision.
When we looked out at women's sports in particular, we just knew that there were a number of incredible individual athletes, again, where their brand equity and their popularity exceeded the leagues and the teams that they were playing for or involved with. And so when we started Athletes Unlimited, and Jonathan gets a lot of the credit for this, was really, let's start with a model that starts with the athletes at the center of what we're doing. And we'd seen a huge popularity at the college level, at the Olympic level, and so we really wanted to build upon that.
They are operating off a new concept in sports, the fluid fan.
Namely, that this highly adaptive and empowered fan is more likely to follow a player instead of a team.
And it really flowed into what Jonathan and I were thinking about in terms of the sports we were going to go into and just identifying how powerful the individual athletes were relative to their teams and leagues. And we thought to ourselves, let's really emphasize the individual athletes. At the start of AU, we knew that one of the biggest places we were going to invest was in our digital and our social team and our storytelling team, and that was really table stakes. That's something that's at the core of the sports league of today.
Sports Innovation Lab, the data outfit behind the fluid fan concept, is run by Angela Ruggiero, a former gold medal hockey player who's now on AU's advisory board. Her team then showed why women's sports is so well positioned to take advantage of the shifting fan behaviors.
They are already where the media landscape is going, right? They've had to go find the sports. They've had to go search them out online. They've had to go to different platforms. They're used to behaving in the way that fans are now starting to behave. So those fans have been there, and they're now starting to get recognized because in some ways the rest of fandom is catching up with the ways that they behave.
You can see this thinking is fundamental to the whole setup. Walking around the Dallas event on game day, they were clearly less focused on fans in the stands than they were about how it would appear on camera to fans around the world. But for the dedicated fans who were showing up, they made sure to tell that story. Like this photo that went viral last year, when a young fan named Aubrey came to the game in a custom-made full Athletes Unlimited uniform, so she could look just like her favorite player, Natasha Cloud.
See this picture here? What do moments like that really feel
She's
like?
gonna be here tonight, and I'm so excited. But moments like this are everything to me. We're role models, and I never take that for granted. Representation matters. When you can be put out there, when women can be actually put on a stage and supported and amplified, things like this happen. A young girl sees herself in me, and now she believes that she can do this, and that's going to make the world of a difference for how she approaches and attacks her everyday life from now on.
Our model is set up to tell stories. We have our athletes in one location for 6 weeks. They're not flying all over the place, they're here, right? You really have an opportunity to tell stories and get footage and collect assets.
I think that's like one of the biggest things that sold me, their passion for storytelling, and I think that's so important. And that adds to the, the sense of community and comfort that we provide at Athletes Unlimited that I don't think you can find anywhere else.
Lexi Brown.
Players like Lexi Brown are well situated to operate in this paradigm. Brown has her own social media presence with more than 250,000 followers on Instagram and Twitter. A college hoops analyst for the ACC network, she's used to being multi-platform and working with branded content, like this video sponsored by Gatorade.
How to film a made jump shot. Just don't miss.
Athletes Unlimited capitalizes on that. And athletes like Brown pop up in videos across their channels.
I would say my style does complement my game, and a lot of people tell me that I'm really girly on the court. I flick my ponytail out of the way all the time.
With followers come sponsors. For Brown, this is business.
Once you get the opportunity, you start to love it, and it is hard and it is tiring and it is exhausting, but it's definitely rewarding. Like, we can do everything. We can do all the things that we want to do, and just because we're professional athletes doesn't mean that we can't put our corporate America suits on and then have our uniforms on right under it.
And for Athletes Unlimited, it's another way to engage the fluid fan. Generate enough interest, you can charge a premium.
The numbers are pretty impressive. So average sports leagues have about a 2% engagement rate on social. Athletes Unlimited has a 5% engagement rate, but our athletes have an 11% engagement rate. And so one of the insights early on was some of our athletes don't have, of course, the reach of maybe their male counterparts, but that engagement rate and the fact that, even with a smaller following, when you aggregate that across 250 athletes, and when you think about the engagement they're getting, it's a really powerful engine.
The calculation isn't just cold hard numbers, though. These guys get philosophical about it. Jonathan Soros in particular sees this not just as a way to change sports, he also sees it as a way to change investment across the board, aiming his argument right to the heart of capitalist thinking and its shareholder hero, Milton Friedman.
He has this idea, and I don't disagree with the idea that a company should respond to its shareholders, right, as the owners of the company. He continues, though, by saying shareholders only care about money. And that's why companies should only care about money. And that's just not true. There's nobody who cares about only money. You care about lots of other things in your life, your family, your community, your church, whatever it is. And so there isn't yet a way to express that in this format of company building that we have, and we're trying to experiment with that too.
This apparent altruism extends to how they run the league. Returns are capped. Profits are shared with the players. When players compete, they're supporting causes of their choosing and donations are matched.
And while they believe there is more to life than profit, they clearly see this as a profitable endeavor. And when you watch them in the arena, they are outwardly giddy with their creation.
Every time we come to any day of any game, it's just fun. Part of the whole team swapping is that it's always fresh energy. It's always a new combination of players. You're going to see something tonight that literally you will never see again.